My dad told me he was a medic. He was pulling the soldiers out from stacks of, pulling their dog tags from, just pulling it from their neck. He was collecting them. He said bombs were going off all over. He said it was Agent Orange or Agent Green, something like that. He just told me all these bombs were going off, and they ordered him to go there when they were exploding and collect the dog tags. They
probably did some type of Project Shad on him, which we know they've done, for decades. God bless you, Angela. Sorry about your father. Dr. Rokke, remind folks of Project Shad.
Project Shad, you can check it up, go on the internet, do a search. Project, and then Shad, S-H-A-D, is deliberate use of chemical and biological and radiological materials on U.S. citizens, U.S. military. It began back in the 1950s, and it continues to this day. The most recent one where I was totally involved in, I got exposed, was down at Fort McClellan, Alabama, where they used Bacillus globegi. I was involved because I was on site there when it happened. And then we know that's been done again out in the Southwest. And then we've actually had a confirmation it's been done up in the Northeast. So we see Project Shad. Our own team came up to Project Shad. We had a big outbreak here in the Midwest with salmonella, and they were claiming it was coming from a subway. Well, there was no food that would carry salmonella, and the Army experts that are involved in all this said, well, Project Shad is still going on. We're doing it to our own guys here in Illinois. Isn't that nice?
And then they use it to pass a takeover of small farms and ranches. Unbelievable. That was powerful info. So some of your intel is that was a Project Shad op?
Well, yeah, that's what I heard directly from too many people that were directly on the inside.
Oh.
I mean, it made sense because there's no way for this stuff to show up otherwise.
You're incredible, Dr. Rokke. All your connections are just unbelievable.
I wish they weren't.
No, I mean you're the Dr. DU. You've trained most of law enforcement in this country. Let's talk to George in Mississippi. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex. I was a Bradley gunner in Operation Iraqi Freedom.
So that was 7 years ago.
Right, 2003.
And what happened to you?
Well, I just want to take another aspect of this. We had a briefing right before, all right? We had a lieutenant get all the Bradley gunners and the tank crews, and gave us a briefing on depleted uranium. Because, we were just loaded down with it. This is before the invasion. He told us that you get more radiation from a microwave oven than from this stuff, and that it was totally safe. I'm dead serious. I'll never forget that. But I'm just telling you what we were told.
No, I know. Listen. During Operation Iraqi Freedom, I had calls, and even one guy I've known for years, and I was told, you are a stinking liar. There's no radiation. It's no problem. And I have all the Army's own reports, just because the military told them the same thing. And so they don't want to believe me. But when they die, they'll believe. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Well, this was our NBC expert. He was a lieutenant. NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical. And, it's straight from the so-called expert telling us this.
Okay, well, this is the head of the DU program, and I may have to hold you both over. We got other guests, but this is so important. Dr. Rokke, you wrote the book on it.
Well, the training, first off, this young gentleman who was on a Bradley fighting vehicle was required to have 40 hours of depleted uranium training. When I wrote the training, I coordinated everything with the infantry school at Fort Benning, Georgia. In fact, we were down there and we wrote the red team manual on the use of uranium munitions in the Bradley fighting vehicle with 25 millimeter. Nobody's supposed to sit on top of the ammo inside the Bradley. You're supposed to have 40 hours of training. There's handling requirements, medical requirements, PPE requirements. Then the other thing, too, and this comes on down to the same thing, and this idiot, I'd love to have his name because I just, I'm an retired Army officer, and I'll just call the Chemical Corps commander up right away and say, hey, this is what your guys are teaching. First off, a microwave oven is non-ionizing radiation. It's an RF wave, microwave. And DU is ionizing radiation, which is alpha, beta, gamma, and X-ray. Totally different things. So when this guy tells you that they're comparable, he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. And that just indicates a total deliberate failure and deliberate lies.
Well, look, Dr. Rokke, I've confirmed in 7 years ago, they told them all to tell them this, and most of these guys just believed it.
They do because they want to. They don't want to believe that all these guys would lie to them, send them to their death, and give them no equipment that operates and put them into areas where they shouldn't be. I mean, I didn't want to believe it either, for over 30 years while I was in the military, and until I was faced to do it when I became, their number one guy and had to figure out what was happening. It scared me. It scared me totally, and then it was reality. A reality check, as you mentioned. And
reality's still there. Even if you deny it or don't know reality, folks, it's still right there. Somebody can be hopped up on PCP and jump off a 50-story building because they think they're a bird, but they're not a bird. And all this talk about, we have these policies around using DU, which don't even really protect you, as you've said. That's almost like, putting somebody in an eggshell, armor and having them jump out in front of an 18-wheeler going 100 miles an hour. I mean, it's all just window dressing, isn't it, Doctor?
Correct. Let me give you a direct...
Hold on. We're going to do 5 more minutes. Then we got Stuart Rhodes, the head of Oath Keepers, and Mr. Irish, because he's an Oath Keeper supporter, had his child taken. We're going to give you the latest on that. We're going to come back with Georgia, Mississippi, and Dr. Doug Rokke to put bookends on this, but unbelievable. Yeah, this stuff isn't bad for you, boys. Here's their own reports. Georgia, Mississippi, without myself interrupting you, tell us exactly what you were briefed, what you were told going into Operation Iraqi Freedom 7.5 years ago. Then I want to get Dr. Doug Rocke's breakdown again from, this is the guy that literally wrote the book for the Army on it, on what they know it does. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, this briefing was very informal. This was literally like 2 weeks. This was in Kuwait right before we invaded. And this was just, they just had us out in the middle of the desert in a group with the tank crews and the Bradley crews. Just the crews, not the soldiers that ride in the back. Because the Bradley's an armored personnel carrier. We have anywhere from 8 to 10 troops in the back of that thing with all the depleted uranium rounds that they're literally surrounded by in a metal coffin, basically.
And this stuff's very soft. It's very heavy, but it's very soft and flake soft. Correct, Doctor?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you're in a metal box. It's and the desert is nothing but dust, too, so you're just constantly breathing in this dust. But anyway, look, here's the thing. The biggest lie was they never told us, because it is, as I understand it, it's mildly radioactive in the state of, if it's just sitting there in an unexpended round. After you fire it, it becomes highly radioactive, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Doctor, explain to him, it's that it gets into micron particles that are able to pierce the cells, and so you have the exposure of the radiation at point-blank range systemically. That's why most of the calls were from the 19-year-old war, where 20+% of the troops are dead from it. Now we're just having the new troops say, yeah, I've got diarrhea, yeah, I'm sick, but it's going to get worse and worse for them. Doctor, correct me if I'm wrong.
Let's put it real simple, okay? And if this gets a little offensive to somebody, I'm sorry. When you're sitting on top of the depleted uranium round in the Bradley fighting vehicle, you're getting 300 millirems per hour of strictly 300 millirems, okay? That's how much you're getting. All right, that's the exposure. Now, the maximum total dose individuals allowed to sit on top of, you have to understand, this is right up next to the male testicles or the female genitalia. Within 20 minutes, you have exceeded the yearly dose. Okay, now you were supposed to have had a full 40 hours of training as a Bradley crewman. That is required. That's in the Army regulations in the training. And it didn't happen. They probably didn't even give you, you didn't even pass the common task training on DU. They probably didn't even tell you about it. That was in the common task manual. They're not going to. They can't tell the soldier, because if they tell the soldier the truth, the soldier is going to tell him, I'm not getting in that equipment. I'm not going to use it. I'm not going near it. And that's why they don't tell anybody. And then once they do and they find out they get a problem, my phone rings off the hook, and I'm stopped on the street, and I'm stopped at church, and I'm stopped at school, and I'm stopped in the grocery store. Help me, help me, help me. Because nobody in the military is going to tell you the truth. The VA is not going to tell you that their own clinician's guide states very specifically, quote, some things you need to know about veterans, clinician's guide to veteran-specific issue, in which they say, quote, some of the physical symptoms which occur as a result of exposure to depleted uranium are sleep problems, mood swings, symptoms in the upper and lower respiratory system, neuropsychological symptoms including memory loss, chronic fatigue, immune system dysfunction, skin rashes, hair loss, aching joints, headaches, abdominal pain, sensitivity to light, blurred vision, menstrual disorder, gastrointestinal systems, here's your diarrhea, nervous disorders such as numbness in the limb, multiple chemical sensitivity, and birth defects, end quote.
Unfortunately, Doctor, I've got to stop you there. Thank you for your time and energy. All the documents you sent us are going up on Infowars.com, and the photographs and the Army's own reports. But you didn't even get into the fact of once it hits something, then it aerosolizes and is breathed into the lungs. Bottom line, when they're telling...
That was my point.
Sorry, George, go ahead.
I was just saying, that was my point, is even after you fired and it hits like an enemy tank or a building, isn't it like 1,000 times worse at that point?
That's
what we were lied about.
Extremely fine dust that goes right into the body. You can't keep it out, and there's where all the direct health effects are, because now it's inside the body in direct contact with the cells throughout the whole body, and that's why the physiological effects are so devastating and sometimes delayed and sometimes immediate.
But it also sheds during the projectile process out of the barrel.
All the way through. The whole barrel is contaminated. The Bradley, that's what we found on the Bradley and the Abrams. The barrels were thoroughly contaminated. We put special precautions in place, which obviously they never told you, George.
All right. Well,
no,
gentlemen,
we had to clean those barrels.
Yeah, but they didn't give you the proper equipment or anything to do it with.
Oh, no, just...
All right, George, we're out of time. Dr. Rokke, thank you for spending an hour and 40 minutes with us. God bless you, sir, for your continued service, and hopefully we're going to get some justice. Everybody who has family in the military, get the information, take the video from this show, posted at prisonplanet.tv, and get it out to everyone you know. Warn them that using DU weapons is a slow death sentence. Dr. Rokke, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.